I'll tell you one thing, that
Hey,
dude is sick.
when my girls start to trip and hate before I skate, I call Sirius XM 98. Yeah, Thursdays the Foxxhole 7 to 9 to talk to ZoWilliams before I lose my mind. Yo, I need advice on my relationship, cause I'm about to start breaking. I can't take it no more. I got to holler at Zoe, the relationship pro. Before I pack up and go, I got my foot out the door and down for leaving. But first, let me holler at Zoe, the voice of reason. I got my foot out the door and down for leaving. But first, let me holler at Zoe, the voice of reason.
Ladies and gentlemen, another Thursday. Real Radio is in the building. I'm trying to tell you, we're trying to be thought leaders in the community. How do we do that in the global community? We try to bring topics to you that change your life, that make you better, that make you laugh, that make you think, that make you listen. Tonight's topic, before I get to it, let me give you the number, 855-369-9898. This is the voice of reason. Zometheus Rising, otherwise ZoWilliams.com. That's what I'm going to refer to myself. ZoWilliams.com. Go to my website. Please check me out. Email me, zo@SiriusXM.com. Follow me on Facebook. Get at me on Twitter, at ZoWilliams. That's at ZoWilliams. Trust me, we do all types of conversations on Twitter and Facebook, and we keep it cracking all week long because we want to generate buzz and enthusiasm about what we're talking about. Let me give you tonight's topic just to give you an idea of what this whole week has been about on Twitter and Facebook. Let me give it to you right now. Can you hear me now? Is listening the most important aspect of communication? Are you completely deaf to what your mate is saying? Come on now. Somebody call me right now. 855-369-9898. Trust me, this thing is going to be crazy. I got topics. I got guests. It's going to be nuts. Once again, tonight's topic, can you hear me now? Is listening the most important aspect of communication? And I like to just throw questions out there. Let me hit you before I go to break. Are you completely deaf to what your mate is saying? Man, do you know, let me stay focused. I'll be back in 2.2 seconds. I got to take this quick break. My producer is telling me to do so. Can you hear me now? Is listening the most important aspect of communication? Call me right now, 855-369-9898. See you in a second. Missouri. Ladies and gentlemen, does your woman have to think like a boy in order to get you to listen to her? I don't know. 855-369-9898 is the number to dial. Can you hear me now is our topic. Is listening the most important aspect of communication? Are you completely deaf to what your mate is saying? Come on, talk to me right now. 855-369-9898. That's the number to dial. I want my listeners to call in right now and tell me, what are your top 3 reasons for listening to the voice of reason? Tell me what this show does for you that keeps you tuned in, that keeps you coming back week after week. We want to know. We want to know if you're really listening. Tonight's topic, can you hear me now? Is listening the most important aspect of communication? Are you completely deaf to what your mate is saying? What is effective communication, and why does listening take so much effort? You know, how many times, and you know, I had Dr. John Gray on the show many times, a couple of times in the past couple of years. And, you know, Dr. John Gray is the guy who wrote the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And he talks about how men and women listen to each other differently, you know, that kind of stuff. You know, we men are listening to solve the problem. Women are communicating to express themselves. And I mean, I want to know what you guys think about all of this, and if you're having problems in your relationships communicating with your husband, communicating or with communicating to your wife. We want to know. Let me get to questions right now. True or false? Most of the time, we hear not what's most important to the speaker, but what's most important to us. How many of you are suffering from selective listening? Get at me right now, 855-369-9898. Here's another question. True or false? The impact of listening in some cases can be more comforting than words. Let me give you a perfect example of that. This is a tough tough time because I have to do a eulogy this Saturday. One of my best friends, I've known this guy since he was 12 years old. His brother was murdered last Wednesday in Pasadena. And, the family wants answers. And I couldn't tell my homeboy nothing but no answer will suffice. And it was heartbreaking. And I talked to his mom again, and she was like, yo, man, when are you coming to see me? It's not like I can tell her anything, but I think me being there is more important than me trying to verbally console. Sometimes words fail you, right? Sometimes she might just want to vent, or in that situation, the family want to vent and yell and cuss and cry and scream. I don't know. What are we doing to where we don't listen to each other, but yet we think we know each other? Can you really know me if you've never heard what I was saying to you? How effectively can you hear/listen to a text message or email? How much context is missing or lost from this form of communication? Somebody call me right now at 855-369-9898. If you're just tuning into the Voice of Reason, Foxxhole Radio, Sirius XM 98, the number to dial is 855-369-9898. My topic tonight is, can you hear me now? Is listening the most important aspect of communication? Are you completely deaf to what your mate is saying? Call me right now. Let me know what you think. True or false? Children/teens have made text messaging the centerpiece of their communication style. Somebody call me right now and let me know what you think. What about the tone of voice? Right? If I hear just a hint of disrespect or condescension, I might not hear anything else you have to say after that. You could say you got the cure for cancer. But if you say, listen here, dumbass, oh, I'm done. We disconnected. 855-369-9898. Somebody call me right now. How does the cycle of negative reciprocity affect our individual ability to listen effectively to each other when we're trying to find solutions? Sometimes we're in a cycle of negative reciprocity. What is negative reciprocity? It's a negative give and take, tit for tat. You disrespect me, I disrespect you. And in the meantime, in the interim, we don't even hear each other. 855-369-9898. Get to your phone lines right now. Very important show here. Very important show. Get to me right now because I need to know what you think about tonight's topic. Can you hear me now? Is listening the most important aspect of communication? How well do we listen? I saw some stat out there that said we only comprehend 25% of what we hear. And if we're not really comprehending what we're hearing, how can we say we understand each other? Somebody call me right now. I need to hear your opinions on this kind of stuff. How can improved communication skills save a relationship that's in grave trouble? Maybe yours is in trouble because you haven't heard your wife or husband ever. Call me right now. We've got guests. We want to talk. I'm about to go to the phone lines real quick before I bring on my first guest. Let's get busy right now. I need to hear your perspective on this. It's important. Nebraska. Who is calling me from Nebraska? Talk to me right now. That's Tina from Nebraska. She's not ready? Okay, we'll go to Bryant from Kentucky. Talk to me.
Hey, how you doing, Zo?
What's happening, man?
Nothing much. I just caught bits and pieces of you when you was talking, but that negative reciprocity, that's the monkeyest thing ever. I can't stand that tit for tat.
Mm-hmm.
And I do agree with you. I believe that listening is an important aspect because, like you said, women try to express their emotions. Men, we just try to figure out the problem, and we really don't take time to sit down and listen and hear what our mate is saying, and that's why men, we miss out on a lot. And that's just my opinion, though.
Wow. Bryant from Kentucky. I really appreciate what you said. It's very important, man, that we listen to what's being said. A lot of times, and Dr. John Gray said the same thing. He said, thanks again for the call, Bryant. He said that sometimes women are trying to figure out what they want to say, and they use talking to do that. And a lot of times women may get annoyed because if they're talking to their mate, this guy wants to solve her problem. She might not want you to solve her problem. She might just want to get it off, right? So As men, we like to say, oh, well, what's wrong? What can I do? Can I help you? How can I help you? How can I help you? Sometimes it's the only way you can help me is to just listen to me. And from what I hear, Dr. John Gray also says there's research out there that proves that when you listen to your woman, it raises her oxytocin levels, and she feels more attracted to you. There's more of a bond. She trusts you more just because you listen. Ladies, call me right now and tell me if that's true or false. 855-369-9898. If you're just tuning in, can you hear me now? Is listening the most important aspect of communication? That's my topic tonight. Are you completely deaf to what your mate is saying? Call me right now. I got questions. I got guests. It's going to be an incredible show. Is it really possible to listen to what someone, maybe your husband or wife, right, to listen to what they're saying without judgment? Sometimes, most times people listen through a bias. This is my belief, and I can't hear anyone who has a different belief than I do. Sometimes cultural barriers prevent us from actually listening to each other. Sometimes financial barriers prevent us from listening to each other. Call me right now and tell me what you think. 855-369-9898. That is the number to dial. We've got Dwayne from PA. Talk to me, man.
Hey, good evening, Zoe. How you doing tonight?
I'm good, brother. What's happening?
Hey, you just hit on one of the things that I wanted to mention, the financial barrier. I found in my own struggle that was one of the key issues that stopped communication. And one of the questions I posed to my mate was, if I am the breadwinner and if I'm doing all of this to support the home, why are you a helpmate to me? If I'm doing all of this, then why are you in the relationship with me?
That's interesting. Are you saying if you provide financially, paying all the bills, bringing home the food, making sure everything is taken care of on a financial level, what makes her a helpmate to you? Does she cook for you? Does she clean for you? Whatever thing. What is it that you want from her? Because I'm trying to figure out what your main issue is here.
Yeah, I appreciate those things.
Mm-hmm.
But my thing is, just get to the heart of what you're going to say. Just get to the heart. I don't need the going around the barnyard. If you're going to talk to me, I'm a man of few words. I'm a man of purpose. Say what you got to say and be done with it. And I think women just never get to the point of what they got to say. I'm the solution guy. I don't want to hear all that. Just say what you got to say and be done with it. We go on to the next thing.
Let me ask you this. What is your communication style? Are you collaborative, combative? Are you avoidant? Right? What's your style? Are you competitive?
No, I'm not competitive. I'm more of a survivalist mentality, whereas if you're going to do something, get it done. Only got a little bit amount of time. Don't waste time. Get to it, because you don't know how much time you got. And
do you think she might be avoiding communication with you because of your communication style?
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree with that.
So do you see how in this communication impasse, you might be the problem because of the way you handle things?
Probably so. I agree with you there. Probably could be.
Right. So the point that I'm trying to make is the way you are, it sounds like you're real blunt. So that could be confrontational. Hey, just get to it. Don't waste my time. You could be that way, and that might be off-putting to her. So she might not want to talk to you because you come at her with a combative, kind of competitive kind of communication style. Why not be more collaborative? Hey, is there anything you want to contribute to this? What do you have to say about it? Because your opinion matters to me. If you give her that kind of fuel, she might open up and say, hey, this is how I really feel about the situation, Dwayne.
Okay. All right.
All right?
Fine. Point taken. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, no problem. Thanks for reaching out to the Voice of Reason. I got love for you, brother. Keep calling, 855-369-9898. Can you hear me now? Is listening the most important aspect of communication? Are you completely deaf to what your mate is saying? Call me right now, 855-369-9898. That is the number to dial. Why is it so hard for people to stay focused on the original meaning of a topic in a difficult conversation? And then when you're having a conversation, why is it that, okay, we start right here. We start on the kid's bedroom. Now, who left the light on? And next thing you know, now we're talking about when Big Mama died in 1998. It's called kitchen sinking. Don't you hate it when you're having a conversation and then everybody throws everything but the kitchen sink into the conversation, all these unresolved issues, all these examples? What is kitchen sinking? Let me tell you what it is. Kitchen sinking derives from the saying throwing everything in but the kitchen sink. You may have a fight with somebody that starts out about one small thing, but pretty soon they mention every little small grievance they've ever had. Come on now, you know what I'm talking about. If you're going through that right now, you better call me right now. Can you hear me now? That's our topic. Is listening the most important aspect of communication? I got callers. They want to talk. Tell me what's happening in your household. Tiffany from Sacramento, what is going down?
Hi, good evening.
Hey.
Regarding your show, the reason why I listen is because it's worth listening. It's not all this BS on television and on the radio. But that's my comment as far as that. But I know it's for me, for my spouse. I tend to speak to him at times so I can have an understanding of what point I'm getting to, or the reason why I do things or say things. Mm-hmm. But I guess patience isn't there, and like you've been saying, male wants to fix it, but sometimes woman needs to explain and express, well, let me say, speak for myself, to understand why you're feeling a certain way, how did you get there, etc.
Wow. Thank you so much for the call. She just clarified what we were trying to talk about. Sometimes women just need to talk, and they might not even know where they're going to end up at the end of the conversation. Conversation might not even have a point, but talking makes them feel good. It makes them feel appreciated, respected, and wanted. That's why I say back to Dwayne, let your wife talk to you. And soften your stance just a little bit so she can feel like she can open up to you. Somebody call me right now, 855-369-9898. What's your top three reasons for listening to the ZoWilliams Voice of Reason show on Foxxhole Radio, Sirius XM 98, the Foxxhole? I just want to know why you listen to the Voice of Reason. Somebody call me right now. I got questions. I got people online. I need to get to them right now. Valerie from Ohio, speak to me. Somebody call me right now. Turn the radio down, sweetie.
Hey, Zo.
Hey, what's cracking?
Hey, the reason why I listen to your show is because, number one, it's refreshing to just hear people dealing with the issues that's really going on, get to the real deal. Number two, I think that the callers that call in, they're passionate about the topics that you bring up because there's something that we all feel, that we all deal with, and having a different perspective can open up eyes to some things that you may be blinded to. And number three, I just think the way you handle it is excellent. I adore the show. I love every topic that you talked about. And I'm sitting in my car in my driveway. I can't even go in the house because I don't have exit in my house.
Oh, sweetie, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I appreciate the call. Anytime you want to reach out, my number is 855-369-9898. Thank you, Valerie. Listen, we got to take a quick break, but callers, I'm coming back to you after I return. But before I leave, let me give you a quick quote. Listen, or thy tongue will keep thee deaf. That is a Indian proverb. Listen, or thy tongue will keep thee deaf. You can't hear unless you listen. Somebody get at me right now, 855-369-9898. Who needs to say I'm sorry right now? Come on, somebody tell us what's going on. Ladies and gentlemen, ZoWilliams.com is back in the building. Zometheus Rising, the voice of reason on Foxxhole Radio, Sirius XM 98. You're listening to the Foxxhole, the most revolutionary radio station in the land. Nobody does it like we do because we're thought leaders over here. Everybody else likes to copy and follow and imitate and do it that way. But I like to be a trailblazer in the game. Why? Because we do topics like this. Can you hear me now? Is listening the most important aspect of communication? Are you completely deaf to what your mate is saying? Somebody call me right now at 855-369-9898. Follow me, though. Follow me on Twitter. Join my Twitter page at ZoWilliams. And again, you're listening to ZoWilliams.com. Go to my website, www.ZoWilliams.com. One more time, can you hear me now? Is listening the most important aspect of communication? We have a special guest on, and I want to bring him on. I want to intro him really quickly. Very, very heavy cat. I like to bring authors that can really bring the wood on the conversation, to really lay it down thick. So let me give you a brief rundown of the brother who wrote the book, Just Listen. Discover the secret to getting through to absolutely anyone. Okay, this brother he's an MD. Come on now. I like to bring the real heat. He's an MD. He's the chairman and co-founder of Extraordinary Outcomes, which helps company identify and execute on new paradigms through which they realize and sustain measurable breakthrough results. In other words, he's a cold piece of work. Somebody talk to me right now at 855-369-9898. He wrote the book, once again, Just Listen. Discover the secret to getting through to absolutely anyone. And let me tell you something. I need this. I need help. Because I'm going to give you guys the story after I bring him in. But let me just tell you a little bit more about this guy. And it says here that Dr. Goulston developed, or his development of those skills started with his education, a BA from UC Berkeley, an MD from Boston University, postgraduate residency in psychiatry at UCLA. Let me just say, the bio is as thick as a phone book, and it'll be too difficult to go through the whole thing right now, but he is, like I said, a cold piece of work. His name is Dr. Mark Goulston, MD. Can we get him on the phone right now? Brother Mark, are you in the building?
I am in the building. I don't think as fast as you talk, though. I am impressed. You know why I like listening to you, and I've just been listening to you for a short time. You don't need to be right. You want to make things better. I think that's what comes across. When you speak to your people, you're there to make things better for people. And I think that's what gets in the way, is that a lot of people would rather be right than make things better. And then they pick up speed, they put their foot in their mouth, and then it's up to their thigh, and you can't get it out.
What? Their foot? It's up to their thigh. That's great. So talk to me about your book. Why did you write it? And how will it help people who are going, and I know you've heard some of the callers, and I want you to interact with some of them in a minute, but how do you help people who are going through some basic problems, and how do you give them skills and tools that will upgrade their level of communication?
Well, I'll start out with my lost leader, and if you just listen to this, and if you can follow it, this is the secret to solving any relationship problem you're having. First thing is, when you're in the middle of that problem, you got to be able to realize that you're getting all hyped up, you're reactive, you're about to say something you may regret, make things worse. And at that moment, if you can just see a red flag and ask yourself the question, I wonder what it's like for the other person right now. I did that with my wife some years ago, and we were having an argument, and it was starting to pick up speed, and I could see that this was going to end up with me sleeping in the den. I didn't want to end up in the den, and so I stopped myself in mid-sentence, and I said, I wonder what it's like for her. And we were both about to reload the next thing we were going to say, and I looked at her and I said, you don't like where this is going, do you? She says, no, I hate this kind of conversation. I said, yeah, I hate it too. I said, do you have any idea how we could stop it and not make it go there? And she's pretty quick, and so she smiled at me and she said, I don't know, but you're doing a pretty good job.
Wow.
But doesn't that make
empathy.
sense? The reason is, here's the basis for that. You can't really put yourself in someone else's shoes and step on their toes at the same time. You can't really feel. If you ask yourself, I wonder what they're feeling right now, you can't ask that question and be angry at them at the same time. It is impossible.
So empathy is the key to communicating?
It totally is, and I'll tell you, it's you're going to start getting me all choked up, because as I look out in the world,
Don't get choked up. You got to fight through it, Doc. You got to fight through it. Come on with it.
Less and less empathy. I'll tell you something that has fallen out of human communication. People, when they feel hurt, don't speak from the hurt. What happens is they get angry and then strike back. So when you're wounded inside and you're hurting, but you strike back, the other person doesn't know that you're wounded. All they know is that you're angry, and then you wound them, and then it escalates. And I can tell you, if you can just stop and ask yourself, underneath all the anger, what am I really feeling? And really what it comes down to is I feel hurt, disappointed, or frustrated. And if you can just take a deep breath, let it out, and let the other person take a few shots at you, and then look them right in the eye and say, I'm not angry. What I am is I'm hurt. What I am, I'm disappointed. What I am is I'm scared that it's not going to work out, and I want it to work out. Wow. And I don't know how to stop it when there's two runaway trains going head on. that make any sense, though?
Man, I just said go deeper. I want more. Tell us more about the negative reciprocity that you're defining and describing right now.
Well, something I talk about in my book, Just Listen, is that, and I won't bore you with all this kind of neuroscience, but what happens is all day long we feel like we are caring about the world, and the world doesn't care about us. Now, that may not be true, but that's how we feel. And so it actually creates a gap and a hunger in your brain to be cared about. That is why when someone is kind to you or nice to you for no reason, you start to cry. That is also the reason when you go to a movie, the tearjerker scenes in all movies are when two people who weren't on the same side, suddenly one of them just gets it. One of them stops fighting, and one of them just looks at the other person, and then they connect. And when they connect, everyone in the audience connects. And what happens is when someone is kind to you, when someone cares about you, the reason we start to cry is because we cry with relief, because at that moment, the gap between caring about the outside world and the world not caring about us has been fixed.
Wow. Man, if you're listening to the Voice of Reason right now, that is my new friend, Dr. Mark Goulston. He is the author of an incredible book. I urge you to go get it. Just Listen. Discover the secrets to getting through to absolutely anyone. We all need his help. I'm going to ask him another question, and then I'm going to ask Doc, can you take some calls with me?
I'll do my best, but boy, you're a tough act to follow, Zoe. You are good.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. One more question here. A lot of people think they know the difference between hearing and listening. Could you break it down for us? What is the difference between hearing and actually listening to someone talk to me?
Well, look, every animal that has ears hears, unless it's deaf. But listening is actually focusing in to what the other person is saying. And here's something that people think is a keeper. You haven't really listened to the other person until they exhale.
Ooh, go deeper. Please, open up. Go deeper.
Well, what happens is, here's the real challenge. When someone's venting at you, when people behave their worst, it's when they feel most powerless. When people scream, it's because they feel nobody is listening to them, and so they have to scream. And so if you don't take it on, even if they aim it between your eyes, if you can imagine it's going over your shoulders and not get into it with them, what will happen is they will vent. And if you can switch it and say to them, hey, what's really going on? Mm-hmm. We got time for a quick story?
Yes, we do. Go.
I've done a lot of things. I've trained hostage negotiators. I've had kind of an interesting career. But I think the toughest situation was when my mother was being held hostage by my father, who had Alzheimer's disease, and he was just making her life miserable. And she called me to come across country, and she said, "You got to talk to Dad. He just won't leave the den. Every day he just spends all his time trying to figure out what he forgot, and he can't do it." And so here, I'd like to be the crusader, the rescuing angel. So I fly across country to Florida, and I'm trying to convince him. I'm trying to joke with him. I'm trying to get him to take a walk. And the night before I'm supposed to go back, mission failed. And he looks at me, and he says, "Do me a favor. Don't visit again soon. You and your mom just get off my back and leave me alone." And so I didn't sleep that night. And this was in 1995, and my first book, which did pretty well, is called Get Out of Your Own Way. And the next morning, I was about to fly out to come back home. Mission failed. And I'm reading the galley copy, which is what you get before the book's published, of Get Out of Your Own Way. And there's a chapter in there that says it's all about self-defeating behaviors. And it talks about, one chapter said, trying to change other people, which is self-defeating. And at the end of it, it says, don't try to change others, accept them as they are, and hope they change, instead of not accepting them at all until they change. And I realized I wasn't doing that. So I looked at my dad. He was out on the porch, and he's staring out there and empty eyes. And to really appreciate this, you have to realize I've never seen my dad cry. Mm-hmm. He's the kind of person, he had cancer 20 years earlier, and my mom said, don't mention the C word, he'll get all nuts about it. So he's got that old world mindset. And so I put my book down, and I let go of trying to change him. And here, listen how the tone changed. From trying to push him, I let out a deep breath, and I said, "Hey, Dad, how's it going?" And he looked at me, and he looked down at the ground, then he looked at me. Then he started to cry, which I'm doing now. And my dad was not a profound guy. And he said, I never thought it would turn out this way.
Wow.
Meaning his life. And I said, no, I understand. And this is the dad who didn't want to know if he had cancer. And so he looks at me, and I'm the youngest of three boys, and I always wanted his respect, and he looks at me, and his face is all scrunched up, and I finally get that respect, and he said, Mark, what is Alzheimer's disease?
Wow.
And I've never had this kind of conversation with my dad, and I look at him, and I had to be honest, and I said, well, you kind of forget things a few minutes ago. Sometimes you remember things years ago, and life's pretty confusing. And then he looked at me, and he was looking at me, Zoe, with all his concentration. He's trying to figure things out, and he says, Mark, do I have it? And I said, Dad, I don't know. You had a photographic memory, and I don't know. And then I went over, I kissed him, and we went for a walk. But that's the power of connecting with someone. That's the power of listening and getting them to exhale.
Wow. If you're just tuning in to the Voice of Reason, my special guest, my new friend, Mark Goulston, the author of Just Listen. Discover the secret to getting through to absolutely anyone. He is a profound author. I urge you to go get his book. If you're just tuning in, tonight's topic, Can You Hear Me Now? Is listening the most important aspect of communication? Are you completely deaf to what your mate is saying? Get to your phone lines right now, 855-369-9898. I'm going to callers, but before I do that, I got to take a quick break, but you got to tweet me. You've got to join Twitter. You got to follow me at Foxxhole, Foxxhole, or my personal Twitter account is at ZoWilliams. You got to follow me. You got to follow this conversation. Go to my website, ZoWilliams.com. I'm taking a quick break. I'll be right back with my friend Mark. 2 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, ZoWilliams.com, the voice of reason. Zometheus Rising, Foxxhole Radio, Sirius XM 98. We're back in the building. You know what it is. Every Thursday, we're here. This is the Voice of Reason. We try to bring topics and information, man, that can actually make our lives a little better. If you're just tuning in, tonight's topic, Can You Hear Me Now? Is listening the most important aspect of communication? Are you completely deaf to what your mate is saying? Get to your phone lines right now, 855-369-9898. That's 855-FOX-9898. Twitter is on fire. Both Twitter accounts, my personal one, at ZoWilliams, and at Foxxhole, at Foxxhole. They're both on fire. Keep sending us your Twitters. We're going to be reading them off. And before I get back to my special guest, man, he's great. Dr. Mark Goulston. He's on the phone with us right now. He has written an incredible book that I urge you to go participate and get. The book is called Just Listen. Discover the secret to getting through to absolutely anyone. I know you guys on the phone line want to talk to him. We're going to do that. But before I do, let me give you a quick quote. Give advice. If people don't listen, let adversity teach them. Ethiopian proverb. Mark, are you in the building? Are you ready to dance?
Let's go dance.
Let's go dance, man. We got people online. Let's do this real quick. Ray from Tennessee, talk to me.
Yeah, I'm here. How you doing?
I'm good, brother.
Hey, Ray, what's happened?
Hey, how you doing there, Doc? Hey, communication to me is a lost cause. People speak at people. In other words, they don't, it has to be full circle. In other words, I just can't give you something and you're not responding to it. So and that's what happens in a lot of relationships. Especially when they get into arguments, they speak at each other. No one's listening.
Wow.
You know what happens? When people talk, the first 10 or 15 seconds, people feel, they're kind of trying to make sense, but then when you keep talking, it's kind of like you're getting everything off your chest, and Zoe was talking about the kitchen sink. One of the reasons people throw in the kitchen sink is as long as you keep talking, you get all this stress off you, and what happens is you start to feel great, but the other person feels like you just took a big dump on their head. And here you are smiling, getting all this stuff off your chest, but guess where it landed? And then what happens is sometimes we can't get out of what we're talking about. If I keep talking for another 15 seconds, I won't let go of the stage. And so I think the key is to realize that when you start talking too much and you're feeling great and you're feeling relief, and we just need that relief, we're actually using the other person as a sounding board to feel relief, and what happens is they don't like it, and so
sounding off.
It's really tough to sort of stop yourself in the middle. That's why I can't shut up.
Right. So sounding off and talking and getting it off your chest is a release mechanism for men and women. Correct?
Right. Well, it's interesting. That one of the differences between men and women is women talk first and then their mind gets clear. Men often try to be a little clearer before they talk, because if a man isn't clear and he bursts and says something to another man, that other man's going to pull a gun out and shoot him. Whereas women, at least in the past, they weren't that afraid that if they mouthed off, they were going to get shot. So what happens is women talk to get their minds clear, and the problem is when it's aimed at a man, you just feel overwhelmed. You just feel, like you're pinned to the wall.
Wow, that's incredible. Please call us right now, 855-369-9898. If you want to talk to Dr. Mark Goulston, he is the author of Just Listen, Discover the Secret to Getting Through to Absolutely Anyone. Go to my website, www.ZoWilliams.com. You're listening to The Voice of Reason on Foxxhole Radio. We're going to Chad from St. Louis. Talk to me.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, brother.
I have a question. We've been with this social media for almost 10 years now, and it's a question on how it's a way to talk to people without actually getting any feedback. But I remember you making a comment on how everyone deals with the world's problems, and when you're ready to talk about yours, no one listening. Isn't social media a way for the world? Every time you click on a computer, you see all the world's problems right there. How can you filter that out to where you don't feel like you constantly have to dump off your problems on people?
Wow, good question.
Boy, that's a good question. I think what happens is when you start hearing all the world's problems, something I mentioned before the break is when you listen, you get all filled up, and then what happens is you want to feel listened to, and then when you don't find anyone to listen to you, you get more and more frustrated. But there's something really, we're all kind of addicted to this. One of the reasons we can't stop listening to all this stuff in the world is we're afraid we're going to miss out on something. We're not missing out on anything, but there's that fear. Oh, I got to keep watching. I got to keep listening. But I think it's kind of traumatizing all of us, and when you take it all in, you feel like you want to then have someone listen to you. Sometimes when I look out in the world, even though I'm a kind of a feeling type person, every now and then I'll blink my eyes, and when I don't see people, I see the world as like these modems. And a modem connects your computer to the internet, and what happens is when that modem is overloaded, what do they tell you to do? They tell you to disconnect it, power it down, let it rest, let it clear out, and then you reconnect. So what I see is, when I look out at people, is I see people who are filled to the brim of having listened to all kinds of stuff, all kinds of junk they couldn't tune out. And that's why I think, give someone a mental health day or a break, but if you can listen into them, if you can listen into their into the pain and hurt and fear underneath all their anger, what happens is they open up. One of the things that I also learned how to do is, and a partner of mine at this Extraordinary Outcome said, you listen into people's eyes. And I said, what does that mean? He said, I don't know, but you listen into people's eyes. And then I realized where I learned it is years ago I was working at UCLA on the cancer ward, and the other doctors were saying, this guy's going to chew you out and throw you out. He doesn't want to talk about his cancer, but he better talk to someone because he's just too angry. And when I went in there, I took off my name tag because I didn't want him to see psychiatry, but he smelled a rat. And I'm talking to him, and I said, well, I'm here with the, I'm part of the cancer team, and thought we should answer some questions. And what happened is he was just glaring at me. And this is when I learned to listen into people's eyes, because I realized that if I looked away from him, he would just chew me up. So I locked onto his eyes, and I said to him, how bad does it get in there?
Wow.
And he looked at me, he said, what? And I said, yeah, how bad does it get in there? And he fired back at me, and he said, you don't want to know. And I didn't know what to say, but God must have been looking after me. But I kept my eyes on his eyes, and I said, you want to know something? I probably don't want to know. But if someone other than you doesn't know how bad it gets inside there, you're going to go crazy. Wow. And it was like this standoff, and then he looked at me, and then he broke into this big smile, and he said, I'm already there. Pull up a chair.
Wow. See, that's why you got to listen. Tell your friends to tune into The Voice of Reason right now. Get on Twitter. Get on Facebook. It's an incredible show going down. We have an incredible author on, Dr. Mark Goulston, the author of an incredible book, Just Listen, Discover the Secrets to Getting Through to Absolutely Anyone. It's absolutely imperative if you're going through any type of relationship issue revolving around conflict resolution, revolving around communication, listening. Now's the time to tune in. Now's the time to call me, 855-369-9898, 855-FOX-9898. Tonight's topic, can you hear me now? Is listening the most important aspect of communication? Are you completely deaf to what your mate is saying? Call me right now at 855-369-9898. Really quickly, and make this brief for us, Mark, before we go back to our callers, because we have a full line here. Talk to me about some bad listening habits. Maybe this will connect to a lot of our listeners. Maybe they'll recognize some things that they do unconsciously. Bad listening habits.
Well, I think the worst one is interrupting people. And when we talked about, especially when someone is, think of it this way, when someone is venting at you, what they don't realize is they want to get stuff off their chest, and then they want to exhale. It's kind of like, I'm an MD, and this is going to gross out half your listeners, but I'm a medical doctor. It's kind of like when you pick a scab off, you got to drain the pus, and then the pus has to leave, and you got to get to the blood underneath it, and then you heal from the inside out. That's what listening is like. And so when someone is venting at you, they don't even know that way down deep, what they really want to say is things like, I'm scared. Scared I'm going to be fired. Scared I'm going to get divorced. I'm scared I'm going crazy. I'm just scared. And the point is, they don't show that to you. You know who shows it least to you? Your teenagers. Down deep, they are scared, but you never get to it because all you get is this nasty behavior, this angry behavior, and really what's way down deep is they're scared. They're scared. They don't know who they are. They don't know if they're going to make it to adulthood. They don't know. And when you take them on, and then when you escalate with them, and you go toe-to-toe with them, and they say that disrespectful thing, you throw them in their room, and they calm down, but what are they feeling inside? Geez, I'm yelling because down deep I think I'm going crazy. I think I'm losing it. And look what my parents do. They punish me. And it's always in there. My view of life is that fortunately I don't think there's that many evil people. And when you find evil people, identify them, get away from them, don't try to change them, cut your losses. Mm-hmm. But for everyone else, they're flawed. Cut them some slack. One of the things I used to do is I used to do house calls to dying patients and their families. That's how I got into the business world. Before that, I was just a plain psychiatrist, and I started doing house calls to dying patients and their families. And at the 11th hour, sometimes I could help them resolve things that have been going on for 40 or 50 years, and I would leave those house calls crying because they said, "What a tragedy!" And at the end, it became really simple, Zoe, and it's a lot of the music you've been playing. I would go in there, I'd size up the situation, and what I'd say, and all they needed was someone to speak the truth. I said, we're running out of time, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. And if this gets over and people are bitter, blaming, and having regrets, we all failed. So who's the first person that's going to apologize? And the apology doesn't even have to be recent or accurate because some of these apologies are 40 years old, and whoever apologizes first is my hero. Wow. And they just came out of the woodwork, one after the other.
Wow, it's like a knot. and you're struggling to untangle that knot.
Absolutely.
Man, this is beautiful stuff. Can we take a caller really quickly? Let's do it. We've got a little bit. We got a little bit of time before we get to our next break. I want to get as many callers in as we possibly can. Keith, Compton, talk to me.
Hey, Keith.
Hey, what's up, Zo?
What up, man?
Yeah, I think listening is an important aspect in communication because in order for you to be a good listener, you have to learn how to be quiet. And when you're not listening, it creates a communication barrier between you and your spouse. Now, me and my girl, we've been together for some years, and it's like we developed a courtroom relationship. I'm the defendant, she's the prosecutor, and we have no judge to, control the two.
Huh.
And it's just like when we get into a debate, it's like she always has a need to cut me off because what she says is more important than what I'm saying. And even if I try to take the back seat and just listen to her, but when I don't engage in what she's saying, then I don't care. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I try to come up with ways to solve the issues, get to the root of the problem, but we can never get there for some reason. We always get stuck at the middle point. We can never really get to the root of the problem and come up with a solution and move forward. So we always have these debates and whatnot, and it's like to no avail. We're just arguing.
Keith,
all right.
Keith,
Dr. Mark wants to talk to you.
Yeah, Keith, I'm going to give you some coaching. Try this, and you can get back to Zoe if it works. Pick a calm time. If there's ever a calm time with you and her, and say, I want to ask. I'd like to ask you a question.
Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to ask you a question. And I'd just like you to give me your best answer. Would that be okay? But you have to pick a time when she doesn't get nasty. And she's going to expect you to sort of attack her. And you look at her and you say, how can I be a better boyfriend? She's going to go, what? Yeah, I want you to pause because, if you can tell me one thing, it's got to be something observable. It can't be a huge thing because I'll just get discouraged. Don't throw the kitchen sink at me. But what is one positive thing that it's observable that if I could do it until it became a good habit, and one negative thing, and it has to be a small thing, can't be a big chunk, that I stop completely, something that you don't think I can do. But if I did it, you'd say, you became a better boyfriend. What would those things be?
Wow.
And then the point is, whatever she says, and if you want to take it deeper, and whatever it is, and don't tell her what she should do different. Whatever it is, you want to take it deeper. You say, let me ask you, by my not doing that stuff, has that hurt you, disappointed you, or just made you angry? And then what happens is when you get her to say whatever the word is, well, it's really hurt me or it's angered me. And this will be tough, Keith, but it will break things open. Whenever she says that, you look in the eyes and you can say, I want to tell you, I am sorry. You might get lucky that night.
Great point. Keith, thank you for the call,
Thank you,
man.
Keith.
Wow. Tonight's topic is off the chain. We're about to take another quick break. It's very important that you guys reach out. We got a great guest on. His name is Dr. Mark Goulston. He is on the phone right now. He's an MD. The dude is cold blood. I told you he's a cold piece of work. He's the author of Just Listen. Discover the secret to getting through to absolutely anyone. Somebody call me right now if you're just tuning into the Voice of Reason. Can you hear me now? Is listening the most important aspect of communication? That is our topic tonight. Get to your phone lines, 855-369-9898. You got to get at me. When I come back, I'm going to the callers. I'm going to Twitter pages. Let's keep talking. Listen to this record right now. I'll be back. ZoWilliams.com. The Voice of Reason. Back in the building. Foxxhole Radio, like I said before. Haters, whatever. We're the greatest in the game right now. Nobody has the platform we got. Everything else is a poor Xerox copy of what we do. It's really that simple. We're thought leaders in the game. Let's change the world with the content we broadcast. That's my intention. ZoWilliams, the Voice of Reason, Foxxhole Radio. Tonight's topic, can you hear me now? Is listening the most important aspect of communication? Are you completely deaf to what your mate is saying. Call me right now at 855-369-9898. Tweet me at Foxxhole, Foxxhole, or reach out to my personal Twitter page at ZoWilliams. Trust me, I send out hundreds of questions all week long, lathering you up to the moment that we go live on the air. Join it. Let's get down. Let's participate. And again, I'm ZoWilliams.com. Go to my website. It's important. Now, we're about to wrap our guest, Dr. Mark Goulston, MD, author of Just Listen, Discover the Secret to Getting Through to Absolutely Anyone, and I urge you. And I'm not playing games with you. I'm very deadly serious about the content we put out on this radio. And I want you to support this guy. I want you to buy his book. I want you to go out in droves so you can make your relationships better. This guy shared from his heart. He shared from his expertise. And, man, he made this show a hit record. That's how I look at it. But before we let him go, we got questions. Doc, what does it mean to reflectively listen? What does it mean to listen emotionally? I mean, what are the different types of listening styles that either improve or hinder our ability to truly understand what people are saying to us?
Well, one of the ways you can tell how well you're listening is by the other person's body language. When you listen reactively, what happens is their body language is they tilt their chin out at you as if they're arguing with you, or they'll tuck it in because they're afraid of you. When you listen responsibly, then they nod from the neck up, and that's business as usual, but it's kind of boring. Mm-hmm. When they listen responsively, that means you're sort of getting through to them. Mm-hmm. But when you listen receptively, mm-hmm. what happens is they relax around their neck. It's here's the difference. Imagine your kid comes in from the rain. If you're listening reactively, you say, why'd you go out there without a jacket? I told you, it serves you right. And if you listen responsibly, you could say, well, are you a little cold, when they're shivering in front of you? But when you listen receptively, you just see that child and you say, come on in here, let me get you into some warm clothes and let me put you in front of the fireplace.
Wow.
And that's how you tell how you're listening.
Wow. Can I ask you another question before you go? Is there such a thing as a despondent type of listening?
Say more, because I think you have something behind it that you want to say. So I'm listening to you, Zoe.
But when I say despondent, I mean you're listening because you feel somewhat obligated. You know what I mean? Like, I got to participate or it'll get even worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think you're right. It's a despondent thing. It means like you don't even care. When I used to be an expert also in suicide, and when I would give talks on suicide, I would talk about despair. Mm. And if you break the word despair into parts, DES and pair, DES means without. Mm-hmm. And so people who feel despair feel unpaired in a world in which it feels like everyone else has love,
lonely,
hope,
right?
Lonely. Mm-hmm. And so what happens, and this is the sad thing, is when the pain of feeling unpaired in the world, and it seems everyone else is paired up, when it becomes just too much, you start to pair with death as a way of relieving your pain.
Wow.
And when I would give talks on despair, I'd say the 6 types of suicidal thinking are helpless, when you feel helpless, worthless, hopeless, pointless, meaningless, useless. And the key to helping anyone is replace the less, which is without hope, without meaning, without worth, without a point to go on. Give people a with. Because when you give people a with, when you pair with people, mm-hmm. Suffering is being alone in pain. Mm-hmm. Pain is just pain. Most people can live with pain. Most people can't live with suffering. But when you can take away the aloneness that people feel in their suffering, suffering they can't live with becomes pain that they can.
Wow. Let me just say, man, I so appreciate you for taking the time out to come share this valuable information with my audience. They're now your audience. I urge everybody to go out and get the brother's book, Dr. Mark Goulston, MD. Just listen, discover the secret to getting through to absolutely anyone. We need it. I know I need it personally in my life. And I want to say thank you, man. You've made me a better person with the people I got to deal with. I appreciate you coming on. Where can people find you? Do you have a website?
I have a website. Well, my personal website is markgoulston.com, markgoulston.com. And if you put in your email, and you found any of this useful, I send out these what I call usable insights, and it's all kinds of things about how do you connect with the people you love, how do you let go of hate, and so I hope people will come visit, put in their email, and then and I don't give out the email to anyone. And next week I'm going to India to meet with people in 3 cities. What's interesting is the Indian people that I've met with, spoken to, and I'm going to do a Skype call in about 2 hours. They really want to learn how to communicate. They are pretty decent listeners, and they want to learn how to listen better. So I'm so excited to go there, and we'll catch up after I come back.
All right, you definitely got to stay in contact with me, brother, and I appreciate you sharing and spending time with me today, okay?
Hey, man, you love your audience. It comes across. You keep doing this.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Yo, back in the building. It's what we do. The voice of reason, Foxxhole Radio, ZoWilliams.com. That's your destination to find all things Zoe Williams. You got to come participate with me. Leave a comment on my page. I'm going to get to them. I'm going to post them all. Reach out to me. Tweet me at ZoWilliams. Follow me, follow me, follow me. I'm going to keep this odyssey going as long as Mr. Fox respects what I do and allow me to get on his airwaves and drop the science and drop the jewels. I appreciate everybody who participates here. Tonight's topic, if you're just tuning in, can you hear me now? Is listening the most important aspect of communication? Are you completely deaf to what your mate is saying? Who has never heard the sound of their mate's voice? Somebody call me right now. You know what? I got callers online. I'm going to go to you guys right now. But before I do, here's a quick quote. If the very old would remember, the very young will listen. Anonymous. Somebody get at me right now at 855-369-9898. You're listening to Zometheus Rising, the voice of reason on Foxxhole Radio, Sirius XM 98. Callers, Paulette, talk to me. You've been on hold for a minute. I need to hear your voice. Turn your radio down, please.
Okay. Is that good?
Yes, that's perfect.
Okay, I've been in a relationship for 10 years with a man that's been in the National Guard, and he just refuses to hear me. He's constantly gone, and he doesn't want to get married or anything. It's like I try to express myself in every kind of way, and he still doesn't understand my situation.
Wow. So how has your frustration with him affected your behavior? Are you still faithful? Are you holding on? Or are you at wit's end?
Either anything. Nothing. He has on me one time years ago, but I'm still with him and everything else, and it's been 10 years. And he listens to his friends about their war stories, about how they went away, and when they came back, their significant other was pregnant or cheated or whatever. And he says he doesn't feel secure about leaving without knowing that I'm cheating on him or whatever.
Well, I didn't really hear you. Did you say you cheated on him once?
No, he cheated on me.
Got it.
Years ago. But I never cheated on him. I stayed faithful and stayed committed to the relationship.
Hey, Paulette, one more second. Could you turn your radio down just a little bit more, because I'm catching the feedback.
Okay.
But
let
me go deeper here. At the end of the day, every relationship that we're in should serve as a mirror that reflects back to us some of the things that we need to work on personally. Now, do you expect this guy to just change? Do you expect him to be different? You've been with him for 10 years.
Right.
Are your expectations getting in the way of what's good for you?
Meaning what? Like me expecting him to marry me?
You expected him to marry you? You expected him to listen to you differently?
Yes, I'm expecting him to understand that he's been leaving me constantly, going away, and I'm sitting here waiting for him being faithful while he's going and coming. Mm-hmm. And after 10 years of me being loyal and committed to the relationship, I feel that we should have been married by now.
Well, at the end of the day, what are his feelings of marriage? Does he want to marry you? Has he expressed that he does want to marry you?
Yes, he's brought rings that he's had in the drawer for 4 years. He's went as far as even going down to we've signed the marriage license and everything.
Well, what do you think is preventing him from marrying you? Is it his job? Is it, the particular kind of work he does?
No, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think it's pertaining more to the commitment that he made to his family.
Ah, so he has another family.
Yeah, he has his mother and his daughter.
Sometimes those mitigating circumstances might not be what the guy intends, but it might be what his situation is at that time, and he might be locked into it. A lot of times you can't get out of it. However, with regards to you, if he's going to marry you, at some point he's just going to say, you know what, at the end of the day, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to jump the broom. You can't push him. You can't force him. But at some point, you got to make a decision for you. How long is too long? Now, we did this show before when we talked about the never-ending engagement. So at some point, you got to say to yourself, hey, this isn't good for me. This isn't benefiting me. Let me get out of this relationship. Let me give myself about 3 to 6 months to download the experience of this relationship and start new. Have you ever considered that as an option?
Yeah, I thought about that, yes, because I figured 10 years he should know what he wants by now. And knowing that I've been faithful and committed to this relationship.
Well, let me ask you this really quickly. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but let me ask you this. Have you communicated to him that you're going to always be around? Because sometimes when a woman communicates, you know what, I ain't going nowhere, a guy gets complacent. We get complacent sometimes. Have you let him know I ain't going nowhere?
Yes, I have.
Exactly. Done deal. He's like, well, good. I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing because you ain't going nowhere. Yeah,
and that's what he said. And that's what he said, too.
Wow.
He's not going nowhere. I'm not worried about it.
I ain't even tripping.
You're right.
Right. I ain't even tripping. Just, I'm going to keep flowing with it. So, again, sometimes you gotta be willing and strong enough to say, you know what? This is not giving me what I want. And if it's not giving me what I want, I know somebody out there will give me what I want. Okay. And you got to be brave and step out on that limb. There's an old Buddhist saying, and it talks about jumping off the cliff. It says, jump, and then the net will appear, even though you can't see it beforehand. Sometimes you just got to jump out there.
Or faith.
Yeah, just, faith, or just jump out there.
Right. And you're right.
But you know what?
Thank you.
I just wanted to share that with you. Somebody call me right now at 855-369. You know the number, 855-369-9898. You're listening to the Foxxhole ZoWilliams Voice of Reason. You know what we do. How many of you got that text message, that April Fool's text message? I'm telling you, text messaging, to me, creates a barrier with regards to effective communication. Dude, I got the text message from my cousin, April Fool's, right? Because a lot of, they've done the research. All these kids, they've now chosen text messaging as the number one means of communication. They don't even like talking on the phone. They don't like talking to people. They'd rather text. They'd rather Facebook. They'd rather update their status, right? So I'm saying with all of this technological communication, what's missing? A text message doesn't have emotional context. It doesn't convey laughter unless you put LOL. Or laughing my ass off on all these abbreviations and all of this. We got to add all of these extra components in order to convey meaning, right? It's black and white text. But I got the text message from my cousin. And you know how they say, if you have capitals in your text message, you yelling. Wow, this is great. This is a whole new language. And sometimes stuff gets lost, right? I got the text message. It said, I know you know what you did. And don't call me no motherfucking mo. And take my number out your phone. And whoop, whoop, whoop. I'm like, damn, what? This is my cousin. And then I got down to the bottom and said April Fool's. I said, I was believing. What happens? How many of you have misinterpreted what somebody said via email, via text message, via status update or whatever. How many of you thought your husband was cheating or your wife was cheating when they really weren't? It was just some kind of status update that might have been retweeted or reposted. Call me at 855-369-9898. Hey, I'm trying to have a good time here. Somebody call me and tell me what's going on in your life. The phone lines are lighting up. People are online. Let's go. Reggie, Houston, what is cracking? Well, no, you know what I'm going to do? I see somebody online that I know. Tex from Texas. Talk to me, Tex.
Zo, what's going on with you, bro?
What's up, big brother? What's happening?
Hey, man, big ups to you. Big ups to everybody that's listening. I want y'all to know that this man has been in my life since 7, and he has evolved. And I'm just letting people know.
Hey, please don't tell no stories, pimp. You about to throw me under the bus. Here it comes.
No, I'm not going to blow you up. I'm going to let it roll. I'm going to let you do your thing because you're doing a wonderful thing. But, yeah, I'm listening to your show tonight. I want you to know first and foremost, hey, I definitely got to get a copy of your man's book, and I know you can hook me up with that.
Exactly. I could do that for you.
Yeah, I just want you to know that. Listen, everybody that's listening that's got these problems, it is a universal thing. I am 41 years old, and I am in a relationship myself, and I can honestly tell you that everything that you're talking about, I have been through. I am combative. I am all of the other scenarios in which you're talking about.
I know you, Tex.
Yeah, it has happened in so many ways, and I can honestly, by even listening to your listeners speak to you, can convey that I understand exactly where they're coming from, men and women.
Right.
And I'm learning just like everybody else is learning from what you're talking about and from what they're talking about.
Man, Tex, Tex called me a couple of times, was like, I'm going to call your show one day and I'm going to put you on blast.
Hey,
and he talked about he's seen the evolution.
Truck driver, 17 years. I've listened to you all across this country, and you have no idea. I was going to call you and just give up the business about Mr. Zoe.
Right.
AKA Zeraldo.
Zeraldo. No, this guy knows me, man, and he's seen my evolution. He saw me when I started my first bookstore in Pasadena, California. He saw me just come from a long way, man. And Tex, I appreciate you. That's Pasadena right there, right?
That's Pasadena love. I still don't eat pork. It's been 20 years I haven't ate pork since you give me them scriptures to read.
Hey, Tex, I appreciate you for reaching out, man. Thanks for calling, homie.
360 forever.
For real, homie. I'll talk to you in a minute. Booker T from Florida. What's cracking? What are the top 3 reasons you listen to the Voice of Reason on Foxxhole Radio? Get at me.
Because you are a very reasoning person, for one thing. I love to listen to you. Been listening to you for a while. But I wanted to shift gears. I'm kind of like thinking about something because I was listening to a young lady today on another Sirius XM radio show, and she had put out a book about how to pick up a white guy, how to tell black women how to pick up a white guy, and they went on as far as asking her, okay, why don't you date black guys? And she went on and say, well, black guys are uneducated. They don't go to college. Most of them are in prison. Most of them don't have anything going for themselves. And she went as far as saying that white guys make love better than black men. I'm like, what in the fuck is this lady talking about? And that really pissed me off. I finished high school. I went to culinary arts, got my certificate in that. I am a certified chef. I went to community college for 2 years, been business management, didn't finish. And she went as far as saying that she didn't finish college herself. And she went as far as saying that, okay, she was married to a white guy, have 2 kids from this white guy, but they're divorced. So I'm saying somebody needs to write her a book and tell her how to keep a man.
But you know what? No, we shouldn't, and I'll tell you why. And this fits into our topic tonight, brother. And once again, thank you for calling. I appreciate it. But let me just tell you, we got to stop reacting to dumb stuff, to stuff that's stupid, right? And this ties into communication. A lot of times we react emotionally when somebody misunderstands us and they say something incorrect about us. I tell my son this all the time. I say, listen, people can be wrong about you. You don't have to respond to everybody that's wrong about you. Because sometimes I didn't say that, and that's not what I meant. And, that emotional response comes back. We get triggered. And a lot of times we got to let dumb stuff go. We just do. We can't say better. We've got to do better. So, no amount of talking to a person who has those type of beliefs, will change them unless they experience the opposite of what they believe. So, having a conversation with her and saying, oh, you all wrong. Anybody who speaks in absolutes is crazy, right? All men are this, all men are dogs, or all women are this, or all da-da-da-da. Listen, there's balance in everything. One of my favorite philosophers, Robert Anton Wilson, he has many books. I urge you guys to go get the book called Prometheus Rising. Great book, like Zometheus, right? Exactly. Prometheus Rising by Robert Anton Wilson. He said something that's absolutely awesome. He said, listen, if people woke up tomorrow and used maybe, just use maybe. Just started saying maybe for everything. Somebody asked you a question? Well, maybe. He said the world would be 50% saner because the problem with communication is everybody think they know. You don't know. The only way to know is to ask. And the only way to ask questions is if you don't know. The more you don't know, the greater your potentiality is to learn. And most people prevent themselves from learning because they think they already understand. And if you're speaking to somebody from a bias, right, you're already limiting your ability to understand their perspective. Again, you got to forget you in order to understand somebody else. And most people don't know how to forget themselves. I know. I already understand that. I already know that. No, you can't know everything. But what you can do is open yourself up to learn more. And therein lies vulnerability when you open yourself up to learn. And most people are afraid to be vulnerable. Call me right now, 855-369-9898. We're going to callers. Randy, talk to me.
How you doing?
What's up, brother?
Well, I would just like to, my girlfriend always said that I'm wrong, but I would like to get somebody else's opinion. We having problems. Like, she's pregnant. I know she's going through a lot, and I try to respect that, and I try to understand her. But one of the biggest problems we have is that I think she got a bowel problem. And what I mean by that, everything that goes on between us, she tells everybody. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, she thinks that she's right about a situation. Now, she's the only one thinking it's not telling, because you think it just don't mean that you're right. Maybe you're the only somebody that feel that way. Have you ever thought about that? She won't reason. It's like we probably done been broke up about 5 times. She don't walk out on me. Mm-hmm. And maybe she'll think on a couple weeks, come back and she'll, say, I'm sorry. I realized I was wrong. And I'm saying, I tried to help you with that before, you've done all this shit. Now, I'm to a point to where, I don't trust her, it's hard for me to believe in her because she always walking out. We got a kid on the way, and she always say that, you know what, I know you're a great dad because she know some of my other kids, and I'm a great dad to them. But I am a great person, but it really bothers me when a person say things about me that's not true. And she do that to me a lot. Okay. And, I just like to get somebody else's opinion on what they think about,
All right. Thanks, Randy, for the call. I appreciate it. Let me just do this. It's just like what I said earlier. Now, in an intimate relationship, it's difficult to have somebody that you're with that kind of doesn't know you, right? And if your mate don't know you, that's a telltale sign that you guys haven't really listened to each other. And when I say listened, you got to remember, when you speak and listen through a filter, you filter out the real person that you're listening to. So sometimes you got to put the filter away so you can actually hear and be heard. So it's difficult to be in a relationship with a person like that, and it's difficult to teach the person, this is the tool you're missing. See, this is what they tell you with regards to communication. You can't give the person you're in relationship with and the person you had a conflict with, you can't give them the tools. Somebody else got to give them the tools, because I got the problem with you. I'm not listening to you. You could be giving them great advice, but because they're listening through a bias, they're not going to accept that advice from you. That's like with my son. I tell my son, hey, man, check this out. If you're going to do well in school, you have to be highly organized. High school is different than middle school. High school is more, especially the type of high school you're at, is more run like college. So now you're responsible to stay organized, and if you fall behind, it's going to be a struggle. He falls behind a little bit, and then somebody else tells him the importance of organization, and then he comes back and goes, well, my counselor said that I need to be better organized. Didn't I tell you that before you even started school? Sometimes people got to hear it from an outside source. And I love the way Einstein spoke about it. He said, dude, you can't solve a problem from the conscious level that created it. That created the problem. You got to come from a different level of consciousness in order to solve the problem. So for me, sometimes that quote correlates to, you got to get the same information that I'm going to give you from somebody else, from an outside source, because we're the ones that's locked in the conflict. You see what I'm saying? Somebody call me right now at 855-369-9898. That's the number to dial. Tweet me at Foxxhole, Foxxhole, or at my personal. Trust me, you got to join my personal Twitter at ZoWilliams. Every Monday at 9 a.m., I introduce what my Thursday's topic will be, and I hit you with about 50 questions. We get this huge conversation going. It's off the chain. You got to join me. And follow me at ZoWilliams.com. Again, ZoWilliams.com. That's ZoWilliams.com. You're listening to The Voice of Reason on Foxxhole Radio. Can you hear me now is our topic. Is listening the most important aspect of communication? I got to take a quick break, but I'll be back in 2.2. Call me. Callers, I'm coming to you. This is Jamie Foxx right here asking why. Man, Zoniki is rising. ZoWilliams.com. The voice of reason has returned to the Foxxhole. It's what we do. Tonight's topic, can you hear me now? Is listening the most important aspect of communication? I think it is. I've told many couples that it's hard to put all of these tools together, if we talk about, what you're lacking in your communication skills, like if you are highly emotional and explosive, like you're responsive, then the tool that would make you a better communication with regards to that is the opposite of what you do. In other words, there needs to be self-discipline with regards to controlling your emotions. That's why I say it's okay for people to be wrong. It's okay for people to misinterpret what you're saying or misinterpret you. You don't have to attack to come back, right? How to speak so your spouse will listen. Be sure your spouse is listening. See, sometimes to me, listening is about attention, and we pay attention to things that we care about, things that we respect, right? Sometimes even things that we trust. Now, here's the opposite. If we don't respect, if we don't trust, how can we listen, right? We pay attention to things that have meaning. If we don't see the person or the relationship as meaningful, then we're not listening. And I mean listening in stereo, not just listening for something. If you're listening for something specific, like I just want to hear you say something wrong so I can attack you, then now you've narrowed the spectrum of your listening capability, of your listening capacity. Listen in stereo. Listen emotionally. Listen psychologically. Listen in context. Sometimes we're just listening for content. Trust me, man. If you do some of these things, your relationships will get better. You got to be positive. You got to have a positive outlook going into the conversation. I tell people when you get together, maybe you have all of these problems or whatever. Why don't you set up a day where you say, you know what? This is a day and a room in our house. This is our conversation room. And on Saturdays, we get together to have objective, non-judgmental conversation. In other words, from 12 to 1 on Saturdays in the den, we get to say whatever is on our mind without fear of reprisal and judgment and condescension. All of these things are outlawed from this conversation. I guarantee you, if you give yourself time to have that kind of conversation, but before you can have that conversation, you need tools. You know, what tools? Hey, man, I need to learn how to control my emotions. Hey, man, I got to stop being so reactive and so explosive and so responsive. Hey, man, I got to figure out what kind of listener I am. And I got to start investing in my partner. I got to start being more empathetic. Somebody call me right now, 855-369-9898. Those are just a couple of tips I wanted to pass on. If you just tuned in, can you hear me now? Is listening the most important aspect of communication? Are you completely deaf to what your partner is saying? Call me right now. I'm going to you right now. I'm going to the callers. Let me hit a couple of tweets and then callers. At DJ Heavy Duty. Men are rational, women are reactional. If you agree or disagree, call me at 855-369-9898. At Kingston 3000, most women I know feel like their way is the only way. So at that point, you get frustrated and stop listening to them. Somebody, if you disagree or if you're experiencing that, call me right now, 855-369-9898. At Just 300. Listening is important, but I believe comprehending is more important. Somebody call me right now, 855-369-9898. That's what active listening is. You're not listening if you're not comprehending. You're just waiting your turn in line to talk. Somebody call me at 855-369-98. At Ari Nicole 02. I think sometimes we listen with our emotions that cause commotion, which in turn causes an irrational reaction. I've been guilty. Wow. Hey, I love the honesty. At Caesar 130, regarding men solving problems versus just listening. He says it's hard to do so. Find the balance. Don't want to say something that's wrong on the one hand and don't want to seem useless on the other hand. What to do? Somebody call me, 855-369-9898. At Grown Man Biz, women hide behind text messages. Wow. Follow me on Twitter at ZoWilliams. I'm going to callers right now. Michael from Kentucky, are you in the building?
So, how you doing, man?
I'm good, brother. What's happening?
Man, I'm going through this thing about the religion part. My wife, busy in church. She sings, beautiful voice. I'm a truck driver. I be wanting that weekend time, and it requires her to practice, or she's tied up doing secretarial work, and it gets in the way of my cue time. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to take away from her holy, or just, am I being selfish? I heard you say about picking a day or a time, just to vent, more or less. Mm-hmm. But I need another opinion, because she loves to sing. She grew up singing in church, though, and it gets in the... I don't want to be selfish, and then I'll be like, okay, if I got to leave the relationship so it won't interfere with your God or your holy, I'll do that. And she says no, and she says she'll stop singing. But it makes me feel guilty, though, because she beautiful voice, right. Beautiful woman at heart, but it cuts away on our time.
So let me do this for you, brother. Let me do this. Relationships have currencies, currency like money. And you know what the three most important currencies in relationships are? It's time, energy, and money. Y'all issue sounds like a scheduling issue, right? It would be selfish to tell her to stop singing. But what you guys got to do is manage what little time you have better. So when you do get together, it's quality time all the way around, you know? Even sometimes you might want to participate with what she's doing. Maybe sometimes you go to church with her and just say, you know what, I'm going to roll with you to church just to get down with what you get down with. But sometimes you got to do the same thing for me. Sometimes you got to roll with me to get down with what I get down with. And even sometimes you might want to miss choir rehearsal, or you might want to miss one of those performances, and I'm down to sacrifice what I need to do just to kick it with you. Sometimes it's just a scheduling issue. It's not about, stop doing what you do. It's about making the most of whatever time you guys have available to be together. So it's a scheduling issue sometimes. Maybe that's your issue. I'm not sure, but I appreciate you reaching out, man. Thank you very much. Call me really quickly. I got to take a quick song break. I want you to listen to this song, and then I'm going to get to the rest of the callers. My man Talib Kweli is urging us to listen. Why don't you tune in and check this record out real quick? Can you hear me now? That's tonight's topic. Is listening the most important aspect of communication? Are you completely deaf to what your mate is saying? Hey, man, a lot of times, man, we're afraid to talk to our peoples because of fear of reprisal. How many of you are always judging and critiquing what your partner is saying? In your mind, you're going, that's wrong. That's stupid. That didn't make no damn sense. Or sometimes you might even be saying it. You're stupid. That don't make no damn sense. I ain't even thinking like that. Why are you always thinking for me anyway? Sometimes that creates the negative environment. You got to remember, the negative environment is contagious. Once you plant the seed of negativity, it grows and it entangles the relationship. It's like a goddamn weed. I'm telling you, not the sticky icky, but it's the kind that really gets sticky to where you feel like it's an intractable. You can't get out of it. Somebody call me right now. Can you hear me now? Is listening the most important aspect of communication? Are you completely deaf to what your mate is saying? Listen, if you're yelling, people are disconnecting. If you're yelling with condescension and aggression and disrespect, trust me, people are not listening. If you're name calling, if you're blaming, people are disconnecting. If you're criticizing, if you're shaming someone, right? If you're swearing, if you're threatening, people are disconnecting. They're not listening, right? Refusal to discuss things that upset you, people are disconnecting, right? People are disconnecting. If you're disrespectful, if you're constantly ridiculing and belittling and downsizing and marginalizing what your partner is saying, dude, you're planting the seeds of disrespect and discontent, and resistance creates resentment, and vice versa. Resentment creates resistance, and this is what's happening in the relationship. Trust me when I tell you, the only way to really hear your partner is to hear it from their perspective. You can't hear from their perspective if you got all kind of fences and biases up. We got to go to North Carolina. Freddie, talk to me.
Good evening, sir. How are you doing?
I'm good, brother. What's happening?
My thing is, I'm trying to get my attention span together to where I can hear her and then I can communicate to where I need to. I'm struggling because I just feel like everything is also affecting my performance when it comes to meeting financial goals and things of that nature as well. Because I'm not understanding, everything that's happening, and I'm just not communicating, and my attention span when we do have conversations is just often wondering because I'm just trying to fix everything and I'm hitting it all at once.
Right. Really quickly, Freddie, did you hear what I talked about earlier with regards to creating a time and a space on a day to sit down and talk without judgment, without criticism, without condescension, without you blaming and all of those other things? Did you hear that portion?
Yes, sir.
All right. Add one more thing. Without distraction.
Okay.
So you go into that little space, no cell phones get to come with you. No television, no anything that will distract you. No tablet, iPad, none of that. Nothing that will distract you can go into that safe zone where you want to talk about what's really cracking. But with regards to focus and attention, brother, listen, attention is the key to listening. If you're not paying attention, how can you really connect? So the only way to pay attention is, and I always tell people this, you pay attention to what you want to. That's where selective attention comes in. None of what you were talking about makes sense to me, and I just want to hear the point. Sometimes you got to let people develop their point so you can totally understand where they're coming from. So attention is something about focus. And all you got to do is focus in on what matters to your partner. And the best way to focus is to really be invested in the conversation and want to have it. I appreciate you reaching out, man. Thanks for calling. That's what we're doing. Paul from Detroit, talk to me, brother.
Hey, Zoe, how's it going tonight?
All right.
A little frustrated. I lost my job a couple of years ago, so I'm doing a little odd jobs, like painting and stuff on the side, which is not really my trade. But my lady's just been, I don't mean to say nagging, but it's just been really difficult in the relationship because she really hasn't been listening to me. I've been trying, get a job, but it's tough out here in Detroit right now. It's tough in the country as a whole. And, I got so upset, with the lack of communication, not being heard that, we were trying to make this relationship work. I even went on Google and I just wanted to vent, and I looked up, there's this website, vent247.com, that I even joined for a small fee, and it kind of helped me. But you said something, in terms of creating a time and a space, and previous caller said venting, just to get in this room and just kind of let it all out without any kind of, I think you said, any kind of biases or things like that. Because I think you're right. When you hear it from someone else, it makes a big difference, because I've been telling her, we really need to talk. We really need to get all this stuff off our chest and understand what's going on. And, and like I said, this site was helpful for me. Event 24/7 site was helpful, but you made it very clear as well that it's not only hearing it from somebody else, just perfect strangers, but hearing it, I think you mentioned about your son, not hearing it from you, but hearing it from the guidance counselor. And I think we all need other people sometimes to come in and give a different perspective, because when you get so frustrated in the tough times today, we're not really listening. We're not really hearing each other. So I thank you for that, advice, and I'm going to try that time you set aside in a room, with no distractions, see if that works, and just kind of vent and get everything out there and see if this relationship can be saved, man.
All right, brother. Thank you very much for the call. I appreciate that. And to add on to it, when you get into that safe zone, create the safe zone in your home. Like I said, create the safe zone in your home. It's a special room, and it's an hour. You don't want to just be talking endlessly. It's an hour. The rules are no judgment, no condescension, no kitchen sinking. Again, kitchen sinking means, hey, you know what? We haven't talked about all of the issues and all of the grievances that I have. No, stay on a specific topic and get it out. No judgment, no reprisal, and we all open to say whatever's been on our mind about a particular subject, and we get it out of there. It's simple. Don't attack. Don't exaggerate. Don't attempt to mind read. Focus on preferences, not principles. A lot of times we focus on the way it was said, and we miss that. We miss what the person is trying to say because we're interpreting how it's being said. And remember, watch your tone and your delivery, because that matters too, right? Explain what made you feel a particular way. Clarify your needs. Limit yourself to one or two topics. Allow time for questions at the end, right? And to show that you're involved in the conversation, paraphrase. When you said A, B, C, D, E, F, G, did you mean this? What did you mean when you said A, B, C, D, E, F, G? Now, what does that supposed to mean? Who you talking? You understand what I'm saying? Again, and you got to focus. And then self-disclosure. Listen, when you disclose something personal about yourself, it is a natural human effect of empathy for you to want to disclose something too. Now you're into something called disclosure reciprocity. Hey, that was something deep. That was something personal. And you know what? I went through something similar. And that kind of communication builds intimacy and intensifies bonds with people. Trust me, some of these things will work for you, man. I don't know what will or what won't, but some of it will. Trust me. Just reach out to me and let me know how you feel. I got to go to more callers. T-Mac, Louisiana, talk to me.
What's up, man?
What's happening, man?
I'm the type of dude, I listen. Then if you want me to tell you my opinion, I'll tell you. You might don't listen to it right then, but that's cool. But then I know when you will come back and apologize and say, yeah, you was right. Mm-hmm. But the question I want to ask you is, why do women feel like, well, women can call each other women bitches, but when a man want to call them a bitch, they want to get mad? What you think about that?
Oh, thank you for the question, brother. I appreciate it. But I think it's coming from a different space when men say it. I think it's coming from a different space. I think when women call each other bitches, it's coming from a camaraderie, homegirl kind of space, and for the most part. But I don't think men are coming from the camaraderie, you my home. Listen here, bitch. What's cracking with you? You know, I don't think we coming from that space when we call them bitches. I know I done called somebody some bitches a couple times in my day. I ain't gonna, hey, I just got to keep it real. Listen here, bitch. Who the fuck you think you talking to? Oh, wow. I'm wrong. I'm disrespectful. That's what it is. So if we're coming from that space, of course, women ain't going to want to hear that. You see what I'm saying? And it'll disconnect the whole movement. Dude, when I was young, I'm telling you, that's why I didn't let Tex really go in. Because Tex called. He's one of my friends from Pasadena. We went to high school together, junior college, and all of that stuff together. He knows my development. You understand? I didn't want him to really go in about who I am. You see, he told me he was threatening. I'm going to call one day, and I'm really going to go in. But, again, back in the day, man, I had to learn and develop to get to the point that I'm at today. And I still got a whole lot of work, man. So, you know, trust me, you know, it's a hard way to go. Rashawn from Los Angeles, talk to me.
How you doing, bro?
I'm good, man.
Hey, I think you're saying some real positive things. I'm in a situation right now. I've been with my wife since high school, so it's been almost 11 years, and we've been married for 7. And I mean, we going through some things, you know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of things that you're saying right now are really is resonating. I'm actually driving home right now, and I actually want to set aside some time in the quiet zone, the comfort zone, and actually talk, because I'm actually going out of town in the morning. I think it'd be a great time to have a conversation tonight before I get on the plane and be gone for 4 days.
Right.
So, yeah, man, I just appreciate the words of wisdom you spitting out tonight. I usually listen to hip-hop on my XM, and I was like, you know what, let me turn on the Foxxhole and see what's cracking tonight. You know, I need to laugh. I need to be uplifted, you know what I'm saying? And I hear you. It's perfect timing, man. So I appreciate everything you're saying. And just to chime in on what Homeboy said with how can a man call a girl a bitch, blah, blah, blah. Number one, like me, my preference, never, ever call a woman out their name, black, white, Latino, whoever they are. Mm-hmm. Never, ever want to do that. And I think you can translate it to, you would be pissed off if a non-black man called you a nigger. You would be upset. And I think it's the same thing when it comes from a male to a female calling them out of their name. You know, you just get out of the habit of doing it. And I learned at a young age. My dad never used that word. And here I am today, 30 years later, never used the word.
Hey, man, good stuff, man. I appreciate you reaching out. Thank you very much for calling Voice of Reason. I got to wrap the show. Incredible topic. Incredible show tonight, man. We had so much fun, so many callers, great guests. Let me tell you, when you listen in stereo, you gain understanding. Understanding is tantamount to closure. A lot of times people don't have no closure because they haven't been understood. They haven't been understood because they haven't been listened to. And I mean listened to in stereo. People listening to you from an angle. Let me see what this person's going to say. Let me hear what I need to hear. Let me get what I need to. That ain't the way to listen. You got to listen in stereo. You got to take in the full experience. And the only way to do that is to do it empathetically. Let's break down the word listen as an acronym, right? I got this from a website. L stands for look. Make eye contact. Pay attention. Be connected. Be present. I stands for inquire, right? Ask questions. Go deeper. What do you mean by that, right? Paraphrase. Summarize, right? S is for summarize, right? T, take notes, right? Man, sometimes when you take notes when somebody is talking, you can say, hey, you said, and what did you mean when you said whoop, 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 right? Again, E, encourage. Go deeper. Smile. Nod. Let people know, like, I'm listening. I'm there. I'm present. Right? I'm telling you, it'll take you far. Right? Then N. Neutralize. Neutralize what? Your feelings. Sometimes when you're emotionally listening, you can't get the point. You misinterpret what a person means. You're not even connected to the intent of what they're trying to say. The purpose, the context. You're just like, that didn't feel right, so now I can't hear you. Listen, man, it's important that we make our relationships better. That's why I do what I do. And I want you guys to understand that relationship is hard work. It takes effort. But the work is not you working on your partner. The work is you working on you. The relationship is designed to reflect back to you what you need to work on with regards to yourself. not what your partner needs to work on. Trust me, man, it'll give you the tools to build the perfect life you want to live if you're paying attention to what you need to work on. I'm ZoWilliams, the voice of reason. Foxxhole Radio, I keep telling you, is revolutionary radio. It's the only kind in the world that does what we do. Follow me at ZoWilliams.com, the voice of reason. Get at me, ZoWilliams.com. Follow me on Twitter. The conversation will get heightened this Monday when I reveal what next week's topic is. Questions, conversations, this is what I'm about. Follow me on Twitter. Go to my website, www.ZoWilliams.com. Email me, zo@SiriusXM.com. I'm the voice of reason, and I'll see you next week. Peace.